Welcome to my third video podcast on my official author Alan Roger Currie YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm starting to get the hang of this thing. You can tell. I just did one video 2 days ago and a video before that, 3 or 4 days before that. You know, originally I was just planning on doing video podcasts maybe at most once a week. But I can see how this becomes addicting to many people on YouTube, man, you know, because I'm a brother who has a lot to say. Now, most of what I say is contained in my audiobooks. You can find those 4 audiobooks of mine on audible.com. That's the audiobook division of amazon.com. Audible.com. I got 4 audiobooks on Audible. Then I got 4 or 5 paperbacks on amazon.com. AlanRogerCurrie. Alan Roger Currie in the house once again. Now, a lot of my fans and supporters have pointed out the fact that in my first 2 video podcasts, each of them, I said my ideal length for those video podcasts was going to be roughly 20 minutes. And in each of those, I went longer than 55 minutes. So I'm going to stop saying 20 minutes because I know I'm a long-winded brother. So it's hard for me to keep a video podcast to 15 to 20 minutes unless I split it up. You can't always, you know, if you pre-record a video podcast, you could just split it up if you want to. Like I could have split up my last podcast into part 1, part 2, part 3 and made them roughly 20 minutes each. But I decided to leave it at, I think it was 58 minutes. So this one will probably be somewhere between 55 minutes and an hour. Now, if it does go longer than an hour, more than likely I'm going to split it up into at least 2 parts. But if it's 59 minutes or less, I'm going to just leave it as is. What I want to start off talking about, you know, obviously, anytime when I used to do my show Blog Talk Radio, when I used to write my articles for the Examiner.com before they went defunct, that's what they get for firing me. They went defunct like less than a year after they fired me. Forget Examiner.com. If you don't know that story, I ain't going to go spend too much time talking about it. In a nutshell, they said that my articles were too sexually provocative and risque. So they essentially fired me. And I took it like a man, you know. Here was the thing, though. Check this out. I was the most popular dating advice columnist on Examiner.com. How do you fire your most popular dating? I was the most popular dating advice columnist in the country. Because if you work for the Examiner, they gave you this like little ranking. Like every time you logged into your account, they would show you like who were the top 5 columnists overall in the country, and then they would show you who are the top 5 columnists in your particular category. So if you wrote about movies, they would show you who were the top 5 columnists in the movie category. Or if you wrote, like I did, about dating advice, they would show you who was the top 5 dating advice columnists for dating advice. And I got on Examiner.com in 2009, and they fired me, I think it was summer 2015. From 2011 to 2015, I was the top columnist in the country. Yeah, for all the people who had columns related to dating and relationship advice, I had the top column, and they still fired me. Anyway, c'est la vie. But my point was, I was going to say that when you do like a YouTube video podcast, a Blog Talk Radio audio podcast, you write blog articles or freelance articles, obviously you're going to have people give you feedback. Some of it publicly, such as in the comment section of the YouTube videos. You know, a lot of people leave comments in the comments section. And other people choose to write me privately, either through email or my Facebook inbox message. Matter of fact, if you ever want to write, if you want to give me public feedback, again, just write something in the comments section below of this video, the comment section. If you want to give me more private feedback, you can write me at YouTube at mode1.net. That's MODEONE.net. YouTube at mode1.net. And on Facebook, I have 2 Facebook pages. One was considered a public figure page, and then I have a personal page. My public figure page is just simply Alan Roger Currie, my name. Alan Roger Currie. That's my public figure page. My personal page, which I really don't like too many people to friend me up on my personal page, but my personal page is author Alan Roger Currie. Author Alan Roger Currie. So you can, give me some feedback. I got some feedback on my first 2 video podcasts as expected. Again, some of it was in the comments section and others was private. Let me see. Oh, the first one, a guy wrote me and said he's confused about, I didn't mention my Berlin hat. This is one of my favorite hats because I spoke in Berlin in April of 2013. I got invited. That's when I was part of a lot of you guys know I used to be part of what's known as the Direct Dating Summit weekend conferences for men that was organized by a dating coach named Sasha Daygain. And I participated in 4 of them. I participated in the one in London in November of 2010, the one in Las Vegas in March of 2012, the one in Berlin in April of 2013, and the one in Manhattan, New York City in July of 2013. So, got my Berlin hat. And you know what I got with me? Vitamin Water Zero Strawberry Lemonade. Oh man, I'm kind of ticked off. I've been giving these Vitamin Zero free publicity. Check this out. I go to the store today, and normally each bottle is like 89 cents, right? So because I like to buy different flavors, I don't usually buy the 6-packs. I buy them individually. But again, it was like 89 cents. Now they jacked it up to $1.19, man. $1.19. What's that about? See, a lot of you know this and a lot of you don't know this, but I have a college degree in economics. So a lot of times, from time to time, you'll hear me use terminology from the world of economics. Probably the most basic concept in economics is supply and demand. I usually apply that a lot of times to dating and relationships. Obsidian, my good friend Obsidian, who had a killer podcast earlier today. Props to him. I'll touch on that in a few minutes. He uses some, even though he doesn't have a degree that I know of in economics, he uses certain economic terms like the free marketplace, the open marketplace, the bubble, like when he talks about the spinster bubble. Those are all economic related terms. But see, for those of you who are kind of ignorant to economics, I'm going to break down a quick lesson for you. It's real simple as far as supply and demand. The number one thing that determines the price of most products, services, events, and similar items is supply and demand. So usually people select the price that represents where demand equals supply. So to give you an example, if I'm on a grocery store and let's say I want to sell Vitamin Zero water, and let's say over the last 6 months, my inventory data has suggested that I sell an average of 50 bottles in a 7-day period. of 50 bottles of vitamin zero water in a 7-day period. So I'm going to tell the manufacturer of vitamin zero water to deliver 50 bottles every Monday morning. Now, if next Monday comes around and I've only sold 25 bottles, then that means the demand for my bottles of vitamin water zero has decreased. The demand has gone down, which means there's a higher supply than there's a demand for. So what am I going to do as the grocery store owner? I'm going to put those bottles on sale so I can sell them off. Now, I might end up losing some money, but it'll sell my whole supply. So if I'm selling them for, say, $1 per bottle, but they sell them slow, I'm going to have a sale and drop it down to 89 cents, 79 cents, 69 cents, whatever. If next Monday rolls around, let's say today is Tuesday and tomorrow, Wednesday, I've already sold all 50 bottles. Then what that means is the demand for vitamin water zero is high. It's higher than the supply. So what does that tell me? As a grocery store owner, that tells me I can raise the price. See, so, for you aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring businessmen, again, those who are just totally ignorant to the concepts of economics, that's how economics works. For a business owner, if demand is higher than your supply, then that's when you can raise the price. If the demand is less than the supply, then that's when you have to lower the price in order to sell your products. That's why so many, businesses, stores and stuff have sales all the time, because they're trying to get rid of excess inventory. They got too much supply and the demand wasn't there, so they got to lower the price to get rid of that inventory. Keep that in mind, because I think I'm going to end up touching on demand and supply and value later on in this video podcast as relates to dating and relationships and sex. So, but yeah, one of my commenters, I forget his username, but he said my dog is dehydrated. Yeah, man, I mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again. When I'm doing something like a audio podcast, a video podcast, an audio interview, a video interview, it's hard for me to go more than roughly 20 to 30 minutes without taking a swig of water, because my mouth gets very dry. Oh, man, I mentioned something about one of my health ailments publicly. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But starting with late 2015, I suffer from type 2 diabetes. It's under control now because I take medicine for it. And the good news about type 2 diabetes, it can be reversed once you start eating healthy, drinking healthy, and exercising. It can be reversed over a period of months and years. So it's not a permanent thing. Like, I want to say type 1 diabetes, that's pretty much permanent. That's when you have to give yourself an insulin shot every day, is when you have type 1 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes, you usually just have to take medicine. But anyway, man, when I first came down with type 2 diabetes, because of drinking all that peach Snapple, I was drinking 4 to 6 bottles of peach Snapple per day. And that's like 40 grams of sugar per bottle. So that, among other things I was consuming, led to me getting type 2 diabetes. Man, if you don't have diabetes, please eat right, drink right, exercise, because, man, when I first came down with the symptoms of diabetes, scared the shit out of me. Only thing I've ever experienced in my life that was scarier than when I first came down with diabetes was when I had pneumonia. When I was 21 years old, I had pneumonia one summer. I thought I was going to die. I thought, man. Well, real quick on pneumonia. If you've never had pneumonia, the best way to describe pneumonia is it has the effect of your lungs drowning. Like your lungs begin to fill up with liquid. So it's like the same effect as if you were like drowning in a swimming pool. And what they do is they take this big ass needle every day and they drain your lungs of the liquid that's filling up in your lungs, man. Man, it just causes your chest. My webcam won't stay up. You know I got to get my logo in the back. Yeah, so I had pneumonia one summer, man. It was, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. But yeah, probably the second worst health-related situation I went through was when I first came down with diabetes and I didn't realize what was going on. The first thing that happens, you start having to urinate a lot. Like you end up urinating like once every like 20 to 30 minutes. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I urinating so much? Then the second thing that happens, related to whoever left that comment about me being dehydrated, man, you become like super duper duper thirsty. I mean, like, dude, I was drinking like a gallon of orange juice like it was an 8-ounce cup of water. No joke. I was drinking like whole bottles of ginger ale like it was a 4-ounce Dixie cup of Kool-Aid. Man, I was insatiably thirsty. And then probably the scariest symptom that let me know I had diabetes was I started losing my eyesight. Like I was driving one day and everything was fuzzy. And like I wear contact lenses and glasses. And even with my glasses on, like everything was just like fuzzy, like super fuzzy. I remember one time I just had to pull over on the road, stop driving. Because I literally could not see like 20 feet in front of me. It was literally like I was going blind. Scared the shit out of me. And sure enough, what I did even before I went to my official doctor's appointment, I just started eating right. I diminished my sugar intake by like 90%, my white flour intake by like 80 to 90%. You know, I started exercising more. And my eyesight came back within a couple weeks. And then when I went to the doctor, yeah, my blood sugar level was like just off the chain. And now here's the thing. I don't want to call this a good thing because I don't think anything to do with diabetes is a good thing. But one side effect that when I first came down with diabetes had, I've always been kind of a guy whose weight fluctuates. You know, like if you see me 1 month, 9 times out of 10, 6 months later, I'm going to either be heavier than I was when you last saw me, or I'm going to be slimmer than I was last time you saw me. I had a friend when I lived in Los Angeles. He used to call me Clump, like Sherman Clump, Eddie Murphy's character in The Nutty Professor, because he said my weight was always going up and down and up and down. And it has for most of my life. I'm rarely a consistent weight. Every year my weight fluctuates by like 20 to 30 pounds. But yeah, the side effect of coming down with diabetes, man, I lost a whole bunch of weight in a real short period of time. I mean, like I was dropping weight like I had taken some kind of magic weight loss pill or something. I mean, I just started getting real lean, and I was thinking that was a good thing. I was like, damn, I'm losing weight. But my doctor said, no, brother, that you weren't losing weight in a good way. Anytime somebody comes down with diabetes, she explained it just naturally, it raises your metabolism, something to do with your glucose level, and you just start dropping off weight like without even trying. Anyway, enough about me and my health problems. But I love this stuff. I drink it all the time. So, getting to feedback. Questions, comments, general feedback I got from viewers that might not have been public. I think a couple things were. One of the guys wrote me and said that he is confused on the chronological timeline of Mode 1. Basically, he said, Alan, I don't know when you started being Mode 1. Was it 1984, 1985, 1986, 1990, 1995, 1996, 2000, 2001? When did you first start being Mode 1? I would say I first started exhibiting Mode 1 behavior on a regular or at least a semi-regular basis with women around November of 1984. Yeah, I would say roughly. I think I had exhibited at least 2 or 3 times prior to that. But yeah, if I had to pick one month where I would say was probably the starting point when I began exhibiting Mode 1 behavior towards women, if not regularly, semi-regularly, was November of 1984. Okay? So that's the first chronological timeline point. The next significant timeline point would probably be, well, 1985, that was the first full calendar year I began to be Mode 1 with women. So the first full calendar year I was Mode 1 with women was 1985. That was during my 4th year at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Well, the second half of my 4th year and first half of my 5th year down there. Then the next, I would say, major timeline point, my infamous story about when the woman sucked my dick in the grocery store. It was a grocery store on 3rd Avenue in Bloomington, Indiana. That was in June of 1986. That was the night where my brother, named Steven, first became a believer in Mode 1. That was June of 1986. Now, here's the thing, and this is probably why some people get confused. I was Mode 1 before I start calling it Mode 1. Like back in the mid to late 80s, I didn't refer to my behavior as Mode 1. I just would refer to it as bold, straightforward behavior, or I would refer to it as upfront and straightforward behavior, which ended up being the title of my show, Upfront and Straightforward. That's what I used to refer to it as before I started calling it Mode 1. So if I was sharing a story with a buddy of mine or my brother or whoever else, I would say, yeah, man, I met this chick and I was real bold and straightforward with her. Or I would say I was real upfront and straightforward with her. I start calling my behavior Mode 1, and I came up with what I now refer to as the 4 modes of verbal communication in October of 1990. October of 1990. That's when I start referring to behavior as either Mode 1, Mode 2, Mode 3, Mode 4. Then the next major timeline incident after that was the first time I turned my principles and philosophies into a pamphlet on my brother's request. That was in 1996. I want to say that was either spring or summer of 1996 when I first turned my principles and philosophies into a 30-page pamphlet, which I called the Mode 1 Principles for Effective Verbal Seduction of Women. And then from there, I turned it into an ebook in December of 2001. And then finally, I turned it into a paperback in late February of 2006. So that's kind of the chronological timeline of Mode 1. A lot of women love, if you watched my very last video podcast, I did this lighthearted rendition, I don't know if that's the right word, of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and how the serpent persuaded Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge and then to tempt Adam to eat from the tree of knowledge. I heard from a few guys about that, but women, they really got a kick out of that. Both in terms of they thought it was funny, and believe it or not, some women got turned on by that little skit I did. I had a few women write me. They was like, "Oh, Alan," they was like, "That was sexy." When you said the serpent looked like a slithery big dick. See, women love sexual shit, phallic symbols as they call them. They love that stuff. But yeah, a lot of women were tripping on that Adam and Eve little thing. So I'm glad you liked it. What else? Okay, a couple people who know I'm friends with. Obsidian, I always mention Obsidian, as well as a few other people I'm cool with that have popular YouTube channels such as Angry Man and Ron Wills and Black Gnostic Speaks and who else? O'Shea Duke Jackson, who runs the Negro Manosphere. Love the Negro Manosphere. I had a new article come out on Monday. Obsidian had this live show on his Blog Talk Radio channel where he had this YouTube personality by the name of New Possibilities. And I don't want to go into lengthy detail about New Possibilities. Excuse me. But, see, number one, I don't like to get into these like tit for tat personal beefs that I see happen on YouTube all the time. I mean, I don't really like that stuff, the personal beef stuff. That's just, I consider myself above that. But all that said, so I think I'm going to contradict myself about what I just said. Man, if I have a pet peeve related to my books and my knowledge and wisdom and insight, period. And this has happened ever since like around 2002, 2003, 2004, up until present day. I would estimate that roughly 95% of the people who have had the harshest criticisms of one or more of my books are people who never even fucking read my book. That just trips me out. Man, this webcam, it won't stay on my logo. It's pissing me off. Gotta have my logo in the back. Mode 1, baby. Yeah, man. I can't tell you how many people I've had to break down. Like one of my most infamous stories, I'm not going to tell all the details because the story is just too long, but if you Google a guy named Gerard McClendon, matter of fact, if you look on YouTube, he's one of the first people to interview me about Mode 1. Good friend of mine from Northwest Indiana. He's pretty well known in like the Chicagoland region and the Northwest Indiana region. Real good brother. He's like a college professor. He used to work at this university in Northwest Indiana. And I used to be a program coordinator for a mentoring program for young brothers. And he was a program coordinator at his university for the same mentoring program. And so we were, having a think tank meeting where we were thinking of ideas where my chapter of this program could collaborate with his chapter. And his boss, who was kind of this somewhat pretentious, really academic, intellectual type, she comes in and interrupts our meeting. And once Gerard mentioned my name, she was like, I've heard that name. I know that name. And then when Gerard mentioned Mode 1, she was like, oh, yeah, so you're the author of Mode 1. And she made this comment like, brother, you don't even want to get me started on your book. I will shred you to pieces. She said that. She was like, I will shred you to pieces. Now, one thing, I consider myself generally a pretty modest guy. I try to keep this is getting on my nerve, my ego in check. But I'm going to have to tell you, you viewers, the ones, particularly you new viewers who just really familiarize yourself with me. If there's two areas where I will tell you myself that I'm incredibly cocky, bordering on egotistical, is if no other talent of mine is these two talents. When it comes to talking dirty to women, I know I'm a bad motherfucker. I'm going to just say it. I ain't going to even try to fake modesty. I know I'm a bad motherfucker when it comes to talking. When it comes to the art of erotic dirty talk, I know I'm a bad motherfucker. And second area where I would say I know I can hold my own against anybody walking this planet is intellectual debates related to the general subject of dating and relationships, the general subject of attraction and seduction, and even more specifically, the contents of my own books. You ain't gonna never fade me in no debate about my books. Believe that. So if you're a hater or a harsh critic of mine watching this video, step up to the plate. If you want to debate me about, really, I would say anything to do with dating and relationships in general, but specifically the principles, philosophies, and general knowledge, wisdom, and insight contained in my books, you are going to lose. You're going to lose badly. I have never lost a debate related to my books. Never, ever, 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 and never will. You ain't gonna fade me on my books. This woman thought she was gonna fade me on my book. That's insulting to me. Here's the kicker, and again, I'm trying to skip over miscellaneous details. Turns out this woman hadn't even read my book. She was talking about shredding me to pieces, and she hadn't even read my book. She had just heard about it from one of her colleagues. Once I know that, man, I shredded this woman to pieces. I mean, I embarrassed her. Man, Gerard McClendon, man, he was tripping. He was like, dude, I ain't never seen my boss get shredded like that. I shredded this woman to pieces, to the point where she was just standing there, like looking like a lost puppy. I had to tell her she was dismissed. I was like, okay, you can leave now. You're dismissed. I left her discombobulated. But anyway, going back to Obsidian's Blog Talk Radio show, this brother gonna come on Obsidian's show talking about, I feel like, Obsidian, you promote Alan Roger Currie's Mode 1 philosophy too much. And I'm not down with his Mode 1 philosophy. I'm paraphrasing some of his words. I don't remember his exact words, but this was the effect of it. He said, I'm not down with Alan Roger Currie's Mode 1 because, among other things, his book promotes hedonism, and hedonism destroys the family structure in society. And I'm like, and I hate to use the N-word. I try never to use the N-word, so my apologies to people who hate the N-word. But I just got to be the real brother that I am. I was like, nigga, are you serious? Are you serious coming at me like that? Are you serious? Dude, I destroyed this dude with just one question, which was simply, when Obsidian got me on the line, I said, brother, have you actually read my book? And he starts stammering and stumbling. Well, my point is, and he came down to, no, I haven't read your book. And then, of course, I was like, the motherfucker, shut up. Don't speak on my book and you haven't read it. And that goes for anybody who's a hater or critic of me. Now, if you wanna offer a challenge to something in my book, tip number one, read the damn book. And then, when you want to come challenge me in some type of debate, then you quote something from my book. Say, hey, Alan, I read your book, but in chapter 5, in the 3rd paragraph, I had some issues with something you said. You said X, Y, Z, A, B, C, L, M, N, O, P, and I didn't feel like that was totally valid. Can you clarify what you meant by what you said in the 3rd paragraph in chapter 5? So I'm not going to entertain that. Because you're quoting directly from my book. You're giving me an excerpt of my book. So that's the respectful way to challenge something from my book or critique something from my book, is to identify a portion of my book, an excerpt of my book, quote it, and then let me know what you have problems with, the particular sentence, paragraph, comment that you have problems with, that you think might not be as valid as I think it is, and then we'll go from there. But don't ever try to challenge me in a debate or offer a critique of my book and you ain't read my damn book. That's stupid. Okay? That's what you call stupid. I don't offer a movie critique of a movie I haven't watched yet. That wouldn't even make sense. That's stupid. That's what stupid people do. And I hate to use the word stupid, but that's stupid. That's like me offering a review of a music CD and I haven't even listened to any of the songs on that music CD. I mean, that's just stupid. But yet, again, 19 out of every 20 people who have offered the harshest criticisms of either Mo 1 or one of my other books have been people who didn't read the book or didn't thoroughly listen to the audiobook if they had access to the audiobook version. So anyway, this dude got crushed. And then he went on his YouTube page in his comment section and said, Aaron Rodgers Currie was a complete asshole on Obsidian Show. He's a complete asshole. I don't want an asshole, dude. You're not a debater. You're not a debater. Matter of fact, I'm going to give some kudos to my man, Angry Man. Angry Man, I was watching one of his videos. I can't remember which one it was. But he had this portion during his video podcast where he pointed out something that I totally agree with. He said a lot of people, and particularly brothers and sisters, I hate to point out brothers and sisters, but really, I'm going to say all people. I ain't going to limit it to just brothers and sisters. Because there's some white people, Asian people, Hispanic people make this mistake. But Angry Man pointed out that a lot of people confuse arguing with debating. Newsflash, those are not the same things. Those are not, those are apples and oranges. In simple terms, when you're arguing with someone, that means you're exchanging random, highly unsubstantiated opinions and just harsh, subjective criticisms and personal insults with somebody else or with a group of people. You know, for example, if basically I'm going back and forth with somebody saying, oh, you ain't shit. And then they say, you ain't shit. I say, but you ain't shit either. And then they say, you ain't shit. That's arguing. That ain't debating. Or let's say I believe Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player that ever lived, and some younger brother thinks LeBron James is the greatest basketball player that ever lived. And I say, man, Michael Jordan is hands down the greatest. He says, no, my man, LeBron James is the greatest. And we just keep going back and forth, man. No, Jordan. No, LeBron. No, Jordan. No, LeBron. That's arguing. That's not debating. That's arguing. A debate is when you present an argument or a strong opinion, and then you use either one of 2 to 3 things to back up your argument or your strong. You use a variety of your own life's experiences to validate your argument or your strong opinion. You use some of your life observations, or even more preferably, some type of research data or factual evidence to support and substantiate the argument you presented or your assertion. So, for example, going back to Michael Jordan, LeBron James, if me and a young brother was debating about who's the best, I would say I think Michael Jordan is the best NBA player ever. And this brother would say I think LeBron James is the best NBA basketball player ever. And then from there, we would go down a list of criteria. I'd say, well, Michael Jordan has 6 NBA championships. And then he'll come back with, well, LeBron has 3 NBA championships. And then we might evaluate who had the best talent or the least talent as teammates. You know, well, Michael Jordan, he got help from Scottie Pippen, or LeBron got help from Dwayne Wade. Then we go on statistical stuff like point score per game, assist score per game, little intangibles and little nuances of each player's talent. And the only time you know you've won a debate is when your argument is so strong that either you completely shut that person up, they just have no intelligent comeback or rebuttal for your argument, or even more so, they concede that you have the better argument. That's when you've won the debate. So again, if me and that brother were debating, if at the end of the argument he was to say, okay, after all things considered, all facts examined, Alan, I have to say, you're right. Michael Jordan is, I would have to agree that Michael Jordan is the better NBA player throughout his career than LeBron James. Then that would be the end of the debate. or say he presented a stronger argument that I had to agree with, I would end up saying, okay, you're right, man. Even though Michael Jordan has more championships, LeBron James, he won his championships with less talent surrounding him than Michael Jordan or whatever. That's how we handle a debate, man. Here's when you're a weak debater. If you got to bring subjective criticisms of a person and or personal insults of a person into the debate, you're a weak debater. That's what's called an ad hominem attack. Some of you might, like Obsidian and a couple other YouTubers have used that term from here and there. Ad hominem attacks. Like, if you're losing a debate and you gotta say, man, forget you, man, you're a dickhead, you're an idiot. You gotta call somebody a name, or if you debate and say with a woman, you gotta say, forget you, you're a bitch. See, if you gotta go there, you essentially lost the debate. If you gotta resort to insulting people, calling them out of their name, throwing, really highly opinionated criticisms and insults at them, you've already lost that debate. A true top-notch debater doesn't have to resort to criticizing you or insulting you on a personal level. They can stick to the subject matter of the debate. And anybody who knows me, been knowing me for years, I respect people who are very intelligent debaters. Like, I used to be a big fan of this guy who used to host NBC show Meet the Press, Tim Russert. Tim Russert was a pit bull. When I came to intellectual debates, particularly that related to politics, man, there weren't too many people who could fade Tim Russert, man. Tim Russert was a dude. He was that dude. He was that dude. One of my old fraternity brothers, I'm going to give one of my fraternity brothers some pub. He's off the mark sometimes, but Tavis Smiley, who I know personally, we went to college together. Tavis Smiley is 90% of the time is a top-notch intellectual debater. Michael Eric Dyson is a really good debater. Who else? There's a lot of people I can think of in the world of like politics and some other areas. A lot of your top-notch journalists who are on television are usually people who know how to debate very well. Again, it's like being an attorney. The thing with being an attorney is stick to the facts. And in order to be a good debater, man, you gotta you gotta stay away from ad hominem attacks and straw man arguments. That's another thing people do. Weak debaters do. They interject straw man arguments. If you're not familiar with that term, that means if I'm criticizing women about dating outside of their race, and they quickly say, well, black men do it. See, that's a simple example of a straw man argument. We're not talking about that. We're talking about black women. Haven't you had that happen with some people where you're debating them about apples and they go in a debate about oranges or a debate about grapefruits, but your debate was about apples? See, that's a simple analogy for introducing straw man arguments. You're arguing something that nobody's debating you on. I hate when people do that. When you're debating them about X, Y, Z, and they want to bring in A, B, C, or LMNOP. That's weak debate skills. Anyway, I spent too much time talking about, giving them 2 more areas of feedback, and this will be my last 2 points. Now, I'm going to warn you, since I got long-winded with some of this other stuff, this might go over an hour. And I might split it up, I might not. I don't know. I might split it up. Okay, one of my guys who commented in the comments section, he asked me about cock blockers. He said, Alan, I've had a few people ask me about this. They said, Alan, how do you handle when women have friends like at a nightclub or a social event and they got their one of their female friends that acts as the designated cock blocker. Yeah, a lot of women, see, here's the deal. A lot of women, just like I would say in my More One book, that a lot of men don't have the balls and the courage and confidence to straightforwardly let women know their interest, their desires and interests. A lot of women don't have the courage and confidence to let men know their lack of desires and interests. They don't like to reject guys straightforwardly. They look at that as something that's mean or that might hurt that guy's feelings. And so what they do when women don't have the confidence, courage to reject you straightforwardly, what they do is they get one of their friends, usually one of their less attractive friends, to weed out people for them. So let's say you got this woman named Michelle that's really beautiful and sexy, and she knows that everywhere she goes, she's going to have a lot of men just hitting on her left and right. What Michelle might do is get her good friend Abigail, and Abigail is this woman who's missing 2 teeth and is like 50 pounds overweight, to be her designated cock blocker. So she tells Abigail, if any man starts flirting with me, you step into the middle of it, and if it's a guy you know is not my type, just weed him out real fast, and if he is potentially my type, then go ahead and introduce him to me and let me talk to him. And so that's what cock blockers are known to do. You know, I mean, that's why in the business world, why many, high-powered businessmen have secretaries. I know from working in the entertainment industry, man, most entertainment industry executives, they don't want to talk to everyone who calls them, everyone who's trying to hook up with them, and they don't want to reject those people directly themselves. So what do? They hire like 2 or 3 administrative assistants to weed people out for them. I've been in the offices when the executive is right there, but they'll tell their administrative assistant, they'll say, like the administrative assistant say, Mr. Johnson, I have a Leon Wabowski on the phone. And Mr. Johnson will be like, nah, tell him I'm not here. I don't want to talk to him. And then she says, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson is in a meeting. Can I take a message? That's the corporate America version of a cock blocker. Or a weed out person, a screening agent. Everybody who's busy and feels like they got too much attention coming their way, they have people that they designate to screen out people. I mean, that's to be expected. So number one, I wouldn't take cock blockers. I wouldn't let them irritate you, get you flustered. I oftentimes will diffuse a cock blocker with a humorous compliment. So say I run across Abigail, I might say something about Abigail, make her feel sexy and shit. Make her feel, desirable. And she say, you so bad, you so nasty. And then, just push her to the side and start talking to whoever I want to talk to. So, yeah, man, I mean, now, with male cock blockers, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you can have drama with male cock blockers. I think I ran into that maybe a handful of times. You got some woman who has her, like, white knight. Remember my last video podcast, I talked about guys who are white knights and Captain Save-A-Hoes. See, that's what a lot of women depend on those guys for, is to be a male cock blocker when they go out sometimes, man. And, you had a male cock blocker. Hey, man, why are you trying to hit on my friend? She's a great quality woman. Why are you trying to hit on her, man? You look like you're a guy who's kind of a dog type, and she doesn't want to talk to guys like you. I ain't saying you should ever let nothing escalate into serious drama, but you got to get them dudes that look like, man, get out my face. Okay, you just got to give them that strong eye contact, like, dude, you talking to the wrong dude, man. So yeah, I don't know anything else more detailed to tell you about cock blockers, man. But yeah, whenever I approach women in groups, man, I talk to the whole group for at least maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then I just tell the group that whoever's the one woman I'm focused on talking to, I say, hey, hey, ladies, I'm about to borrow your friend for about 5 minutes. You know, I promised to bring her back. Let me borrow her ear for about 5 minutes. And then everything usually works out fine. And, but, you know, if I feel like it takes more effort than is worth my time, I just let it go, man. You know, but yeah, you just got to expect that, man. You know, again, a lot of women who feel like they're just hit on like just repeatedly left and right, left and right. They're always going to designate one of their male, female friends to be that cock blocker. Okay, what else I got on the agenda for the day? Okay, and this will be my final one related to one of the pieces of feedback. I saw where one user, he wrote, Alan, and this is a big issue, so I'm going to discuss this in detail. Like I said, this will probably go more than an hour, and if it does, there's a 50% chance I'll split up the video. He says, Alan, how come, and I'm paraphrasing his words, I don't have it right in front of me, but he says something to the effect of, Alan, it seemed like whenever I play the role of the, you know, the really nice guy, the flattering nice guy to a woman, you know, she treats me like a chump. And whenever I'm just basically an asshole with a woman, you know, she's all over my dick, jocking me left and right. Remember I was just talking about earlier in this conversation how one of my pet peeves is people who will criticize my book and they haven't read it. Well, over the last few years, I've had that happen with at least, I want to say, 3 street pimps. Guys who either were currently street pimps or former street pimps. Like I had a buddy in New York tell me, we were talking on the phone, he said, man, you know who you getting props from? I said, who? He said, man, I talked to a couple street pimps, man, and at first these same pimps had dogged you out. They had kind of viewed you as this like middle class college boy type, and they didn't think you knew any real game. And it was like, you know, like, who's this Alan Roger Currie writing this Mode 1 book? Like he been out in the streets pimping, man. He ain't no pimp. He ain't nothing but like a middle class college boy. Then, interesting enough, he said a few weeks later, they actually took time to read my book, and they gave me props. They was like, no, I made a mistake on Alan Roger Currie. This brother knows his shit, man. This brother knows his shit. He knows hardcore street game. Even though he's describing it to his readers in like middle class language, this brother knows hardcore street game. And I had another friend in Los Angeles had the same experience. We were talking, and he said, man, he said, I'm going to tell you something funny, Alan. I said, what's up, man? He said, I know this one brother, man, who's just a straight up street pimp, man. And I was telling him about your book. And so he went and Googled you, and his first response was, oh, man, this dude look corny, man. Alan Roger Currie. He look like some corny college boy type, man. He don't know nothing about running hoes, man. He don't know nothing about no street game, man. He's like a corny college boy type. Then my friend who I was talking to challenged him to actually read my book. So he read both Mode 1 and Ooh Say It Again. Then this same street pimp, similar to the New York street pimps, he came back to my friend. He was like, nah, man, I was wrong on your boy, man. I don't want you Curry, man. He know his shit, man. I think he's a closet pimp himself. I think this brother knows his shit. And see, that's why I don't like people criticize my stuff before they read my stuff, because they don't know. They're just going on what they think it's about. But remember when I was talking about being cocky earlier? Hey, man, I know my shit, man. And all my longtime followers know I know my shit. I remember I was doing a one-on-one coaching session with a guy. And he said, Alan, the thing I love about you, I can tell from talking to you that you've been in the trenches. That you ain't just speaking on like theory or things that sound good. I can tell just listening to you, some of your stories and your life experiences, that you've been in the trenches. So I might look like, Joe College Boy, because I did go to college and I do have a college degree and I got 1 year of graduate school underneath my belt. But that don't mean that a brother don't know the psychology of women.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
You're the king, Alan.